Hello, and welcome to the third session of Week 8. This session will be investigating how institutions that offered art education emerged at the turn of the 20th century, and the birth of artists' associations in early modern Korea. Art education and training in Joseon Korea were conducted through personal relationships between individuals. Students were taught directly from a master through a one-on-one mentoring system, often spanning many years. Individuals aspiring to become professional painters also entered private tutorships, receiving guidance by copying their master's work, often living in their master's private homes. Literati painter Kim Jung-hee, for example, taught many Jungin-class painters, such as Jo Il-young and Hyeon. As a result, trends in the Joseon art scene were often led by such masters and his students, and followers who emulated the styles of their master as a sign of respect. It is important to note that while painting was considered a form of cultural refinement for the Yangban class, who were expected to be proficient in both literature and the arts, artisans who made their livings with the same skill set were looked down upon and occupied a low social status. Seongyungwan, the highest state-run educational institution during the Joseon dynasty, also taught painting among the 12 subjects in its curriculum, following the Kabo reforms, and it is presumed that the painting curriculum was loosely based on the model of the Bureau of Painting, where professional painters were trained. Art education in privately run schools called Seodang was traditionally about copying classical models, and students would typically learn to paint the Sagunja, or the Four Gentlemen, a popular subject among the Confucian Yangban elite. For the elite, art education existed primarily as a means to serve basic social functions and to inherit traditional culture. The Bureau of Painting provided the most structured art education in the Joseon period and offered hwahak, or painting studies, as part of their miscellaneous studies curriculum. Aspiring professional artists, most of them of Jungin class, were assessed on their abilities in specific painting types in order to enter the Bureau. This included bamboos, landscapes, portraits, birds and animals, flowers and plants. Successful applicants became training court painters, undergoing further education through copying painting albums and manuals, as well as field sketching, to fulfill the primary duties of producing realistic record paintings. The late 19th and early 20th centuries saw a blend of traditional and modern approaches. While some institutions became more public and structured, requiring tuition fees and providing set curricula, they often retained traditional teaching methods of having students copy exemplary paintings. Kim Gyujin and An Jung-sik's educational endeavors illustrate this transition. Calligrapher, painter, and photographer Kim Gyujin collaborated with Kim Yu-tak in 1907 to establish Gyoyuk Sehwagwan within the Western Friends Society to provide art education for the public. The institution had two sets of students, those training to be professional painters and school students taking lessons during summer holidays. The curriculum included calligraphy, painting, photography, and music, with age limits and entrance examinations. In 1915, Kim also founded Sehwa Yeonguhae, which showed a strong commercial characteristic as a private education institution. It charged won per month for 2 lessons per week, with a 3-year course completion time. The institution hosted exhibitions, including one in May 1917, that attracted almost 8,000 visitors. An Jung-sik took a more conservative approach. He began mentoring Lee Do-young in 1901, making him his first student, who studied at Gyeongmukdang Studio. An's teaching method mirrored the traditional approach he had experienced at the Bureau of Painting. Many of the era's most influential artists trained at Gyeongmukdang Studio, and students like Roh Soo-hyun and Lee Sang-bom lived in the outhouse during the training, similar to live-in students of the Joseon period. An was a leading figure in the art scene of the time and was also the leading professor of Sehwa Misulhwae. Funded by pro-Japanese government officials and the Lee royal household, it is widely recognized as Korea's first modern art school. The school's faculty was led by 2 distinguished masters, An Jung-sik and Cho Seok-jin, 2 of the most talented last-generation court artists, along with several of their protégés, including Kim Eun-won and Lee Do-young. This institution nurtured several notable artists, including 오일영, 이용우, 이한복, 김은호, 박승무, 이상범, 노수연, and 최우석. However, teaching methods remained conservative and was based on copying Chinese painting styles from albums. The emergence of art as a subject in general education of the early 20th century was another notable development. In the early years of the adoption of art education in model schools, 습자 was included as a subject in the curriculum of the government-established 유경공원, as well as a private girls' school, 이화학당. Through the Kabul reforms, art appeared in the curriculum of schools as a means to achieve cultural enlightenment. The 1895 primary school ordinance separated calligraphy, 서, and painting, 화, marking a slow but gradual shift in the perception of visual arts. Following the 1895 reforms, education was divided into elementary or advanced courses. The elementary course lasted for 3 years, while the advanced course lasted for 2 or 3 years. The elementary course included subjects such as ethics, reading, composition, calligraphy, maths, and physical education, and art or toha could also be added. In the advanced course, subjects included ethics, reading, composition, calligraphy, maths, Korean history, Korean geography, foreign geography, science, art, and physical education, with sewing added for girls. Depending on the circumstances, subjects such as art could be excluded. By 1906, drawing became a compulsory subject in schools. The teaching guidelines for the elementary school's art course were almost identical to Japan's elementary school rules outline of 1891, although the courses offered were minimal and there were insufficient teachers to instruct them. Nevertheless, institutional changes that differed from traditional methods began in art education, and the introduction of institutionalized art courses focused on drawing was significant in the change in the social perception of art that began to be seen as a field that was central to modernization. Textbooks also played a crucial role in this transition. Lee Do-young produced illustrations for various textbooks of the early 20th century, including both art textbooks and textbooks for subjects such as history and ethics. The mass production and dissemination of such printed imagery contributed to a more image-oriented education system in early modern Korea. Kim Gyujin also published his own textbooks on calligraphy and painting, such as 서법 진결 and 해강죽보, for a wider audience, including beginners and non-professionals. Accessibility of print imagery greatly increased in the 20th century as print technology advanced. Kim Gyujin was passionate about public education of calligraphy and painting, and even wrote a series of articles called 서화담 in 매일신보 from 1916 to 1917. In his concluding summary, Kim highlighted the lack of quality written works on paintings in Joseon and expressed his hope to contribute to the art community and benefit society through his knowledge. The establishment of educational institutions and artists' associations at this time significantly contributed to the commercialization of art. These early institutions often organized painting sessions and exhibitions where artworks were not only displayed, but also offered for sale with clearly marked prices. A notable example of this practice occurred in 1913 when Seowa Misulhwae hosted an exhibition and painting session. All the works on display, numbering around 110 pieces, as well as those created during the event, were available for purchase. The exhibition was open to the public free of charge, which likely contributed to its success. Reports suggest that the event was well received and generated substantial revenue from the sale of artworks. This approach demonstrated a new model of art dissemination, combining educational aspects with commercial opportunities, and reflected the changing dynamics of the art market during its transitional period in Korean art history. This period marked a significant transition in Korean art education, blending traditional methods with more modern, structured approaches and expanding art education to the general public. It laid the foundation for the development of art education in the colonial period and beyond. In addition to educational institutions of art, various artists' associations emerged in the early 20th century. In Seoul, a group of prominent artists included 안중식, 조석진, 김응원, 김규진, 오세창, 현채, 이도영, and 고이동 founded 서화협회 in 1918. Formed by the alumni of 서화미술회, the association aimed to achieve several key goals in the Korean art world. These included fostering a balanced development of traditional and contemporary calligraphy and painting, conducting research on both Asian and Western artistic traditions, and educating the next generation of artists. To achieve these goals, the association planned 5 key projects: public calligraphy and painting sessions, exhibitions, custom production of artwork, publication of art books, and the establishment of an art school. 서화협회 had 3 categories of members: regular members consisting of professional painters, special members who possess specialized knowledge of art, and honorary members who were avid art collectors. The association also merged members from the 2 most renowned institutions, 서화미술회, led by 안중식, and 서화연구회, led by 김규진. In addition to prominent artists active in Seoul, regional artists such as Kwak Seok-kyu from Gyeongsang-buk-do province, Seo Byung-oh and Seo Sang-ha from Daegu, Park Seung-moo from Okcheon, Kim Kwan-ho and Kim Chan-young from Pyongyang, and Shin Hyun-sik from Pyeongan-namdo province also became members, reflecting the association's nationwide integration of artists. Indeed, while the artistic community of the Joseon era was largely confined to Seoul, this period witnessed the emergence and growth of regional art communities. In 1913, Yoon Young-gi, along with Kim Yoon-bo, Kim Yu-tak, Do Won-sang, and other local artists from Pyongyang, established Giseong Seowa Misulhae. In Kaesong, the 4 Hwang brothers, Hwang Jong-ha, Hwang Sung-ha, Hwang Kyung-ha, and Hwang Yong-ha, founded Songdo Seowa Yeonguhae. Simultaneously, Kim Il-sun formed Hyunmukhae in Jeonju, while in Daegu, Seo Byung-oh established Gyeonam Seowa Yeonguhae. These regional groups indicated a gradual diversification of hubs of artistic activity outside of Seoul, and a nationwide phenomenon of an integration of artists and a collective aspiration to promote themselves as a group of specialists. 서화협회 became the central organization that brought Korean artists together. The association's first annual Salon exhibition was planned to take place in 1919, but the March 1st independence movement caused a delay in these plans. In 1921, the first 서화협회전 finally took place, marking a milestone as Korea's first comprehensive modern art exhibition, encompassing both traditional calligraphy and inkwash paintings and Western-style art, albeit to a much less extent. However, after the inception of the Joseon Art Exhibition, hosted by the Government General in 1922, Hyopjeong was quickly overshadowed in size and authority. 서화협회보, the association's publication and Korea's first art magazine, was discontinued after just 2 issues, while 서화학원, the association's art school, closed its doors in 1925. The passing of An Jung-sik in 1919 and Jo Seok-jin in 1920 signaled the end of an era dominated by these 2 influential artists, and accelerated the transition from traditional to modern artistic practices, particularly as the colonial government embarked on its so-called cultural rule from the 1920s. Nevertheless, 서화협회 continued to hold annual exhibitions until its 15th and final show in 1936, after which the organization dissolved. The group's legacy is significant as it made substantial contributions to the development of modern Korean art and played a crucial role in energizing the domestic art scene. It demonstrated the progress in artist self-awareness and their need to abandon the pre-modern passive role of technical specialists in favor of an active role as self-regulating principal agents of the art community. The progress from the feudal system of relying on and complying with the demands of a restrictive group of consumers and to gain rights as individuals and professionals, artists needed to form an organized group. As a collective, they aimed to acquire new consumers, supply art that fulfilled the demands of the new art market, secure a public realm to display their creative outcomes, and form a distributive system in which they could be actively involved. In this session, we looked at how artists were educated and how they formed a professional association at the onset of the 20th century. In the following session, let's take a look at Korean artists who trained and worked abroad.